the byproduct. And then if you look at what protein is made out of and you see how it's just killing the people. Now I'm gonna show y'all this real fast. So we have already talked about what a protein is. A protein is an amino acid. So we say that proteins are building blocks. So if you look at it, you know, when you just get into, you know, Dr. Morse, when you get into Dr. Layla Africa, they always use the house analogy. So I'm going to use the house analogy as well. So these are essentially your proteins. All right. So proteins are building blocks. We're going to say that the whole entire cellular structure of the whole entire body is the house. In order to build the house, you need protein, or what they call building material. We're going to call this building material, or what they call amino acids, building material. So you see, we got the bricks. That's an amino acid, a different one. Say that one is tritryptophan. Say we got the 2x4s. We're going to say this is L-lysine. Then we got the chimney and the stout. We're going to say this is arginine. You see that? Then you got phenylalanine. You got all these different amino acids or building material. And then when we put these building materials together, it starts forming a structure, right? Let me show y'all the structure. So we got that. So whenever you look at amino acids, just think about it as building materials, 2x4s, nails, and all this other shit, right? Then you start building these amino acids. Now you're starting to get a structure function. All right. So now we're starting to see the DNA being built. Now we're starting to see the body being built. You see what I'm saying? So now the amino acids is taking form. Now I want to show y'all how important sugars is. Sugars is so important because now you're going to have to say, in order to have this building material, we're going to need somebody to build this building material. And that's what your sugars are. And then, you know, the minerals act as the nails and paint. That's what's going to stick the 2x4s together. The brick and the mortar. The mortar acts as, you know, the minerals. That's what's going to put a brick on top of a brick and stick the brick together. When you need to frame a wall and hang a door, all of these different shingles and all these different joints, all these different hammers and stuff like that, that's the minerals that's sticking the building materials together to create the home. But what's very, very essential is the blueprint. And this is a blueprint to build a home. This blueprint will be the DNA, deoxyribose nucleic acid. You see that? So this is the building blueprint. And the blueprint is the DNA. Now, I told you what was a part of DNA. What's a part of DNA is the sugars, which is very, very important, especially when we're talking about glucose and fructose, which we're going to get into, and the amino acids, all right? Not complex amino acids. Complex amino acids is like having, you know, building material that you don't understand. It's too complex. You can't even figure this shit out. You done read through the instruction manual so many times and it's just too much, and you get done building and you got leftover material. You got it's so complex in its structure, you got leftover amino acids. The body can't break it down and use it. It already utilized what it needed. It needed that from the enamel on your teeth. It needed that for that bone that just broke. It needed that for them fingernails that just broke off. It needed that from when you bust your lip. It needed that from when you was riding your bike and you skinned your knee. So all the amino acids that you need is already utilized, but now you got all these leftover amino acids because you're eating proteins from animals, which is completely complex, and it's just all types of leftover shit. Then what you gonna do with the building material? You just gonna leave it outside? You gonna leave it in the house? And these things start rotting away, collecting dust, collecting termites, collecting all types of parasites. And you wonder why acid coming in when you eating all these proteins. You wonder why all these different parasites coming in when you eating all these proteins, because you got leftover genetic material that's just sitting inside of your cellular structure, rotting away and putrefying, putrefaction sticking in. It's starting to rot away. Now check this out, because it gets deep, y'all. Let me show y'all this. So now we starting to get into where you call, you know, the sugars. The sugars will be your essential workers. That's where your energy is coming in at. So the sugars is coming in and it's putting, you know, all the energy into showing the amino acids how to stick themselves together by way of the nails, by way of the minerals. You see that? And it shows you how essential sugar is, because without sugar, you ain't got no construction workers to put your amino acids together or your building blocks. So without workers, you ain't gonna have no damn house. Without the workers, you ain't gonna have no bio-spiritual body to walk around and experience its creation in. Showing you that sugar is essential for the amino acids or building blocks to build the actual physical structure that we're gonna call the house. So the sugars is the contractors, the workers. The minerals is the nails. You see that? The minerals is the hangers, the hedges, and then the amino acids, or what we're going to call the proteins, is the building material. You put all three together, you got you a beautiful house. You got you a beautiful house. And this is how this house is supposed to look. When it's, oh no, my bad, that's another one. Let me show you this beautiful house. Hold on, where the beautiful house at? And this is how this beautiful house look whenever everything in your body is working properly and you're not actually eating proteins that are coming from the wrong type of foods. An animal is not the way, I'm telling y'all. Now, say you get complex amino acid structures, right? And this is what the sugars in the work is going to do. It's going to be too much leftover protein, and you start getting stuff like this. This is nothing but cancers and tumors because you had too many bricks laid over. You had too many building blocks of creation left over. Too much proteins, high protein diets, animal proteins diet, all these workout powder proteins. You see that? All of these lactose-based proteins. Now you got tumors and you got things building because you have too many building blocks left over. So now it just look like, you see how ugly the house look? Because it have too much building material because it was too much complex amino acids inside the body. The body don't know how to utilize that or know what to do with it. So what it do is it isolate the chemistry and it isolate itself. Have y'all ever seen isolated proteins? That's what you call tumors. That's what you call fibroids. That's what you call cysts. That's what you call styes. That's what you call lipomas. And then now the proteins are trying their hardest by the liver and by the gallbladder to function themselves right. So it starts looking like this, an ugly ass house. House just built on top of each other. Deranged proteins. And this is what you call cancerous tumors. All types of amino acids that ain't supposed to go together are now going together because you on high protein diets and the body don't know what to do with all these proteins from the animals that you eating, from the beans that you eating, from the grains that you eating. So it just put the shit together how the best that it gets to the best that it can. You see that? It just put it together the best that it can. Y'all get that? I hope y'all reading this. All right, y'all see that? So most of your proteins come from plants, y'all. Most of your proteins come from plants. Now, I just want to start showing y'all some things. Let's start reading up on stuff like this. Now, when you actually start getting into proteins, there are deadly chemicals inside these proteins. For one of them, let's talk about beans. Whenever you get into beans and whenever you get into animal protein and whenever you get into, you know, different types of grains, they come with something called lectins. I've been teaching y'all about lectins for the last 6 years. You see, and let's start reading what it's talking about. Lectins are defined as proteins that bind to carbohydrates. Notice what these proteins do. These proteins want to bind to carbon because it needs a negative positive charge. And that's the reason why when you study biochemistry, you will always see the protein or the proton running around the atom trying to avoid the neutron to grab a charge from the electron. You see it just like men chase women now. Same thing that we do on a cellular biochemistry structure, always trying to borrow a charge from the woman instead of being our own charge. And then this actually digress the infinite spirit or the effeminate spirit, or what we're going to call electron inside the cell. And now that alkaloid or that alkali is now have been depleted of all of its oxygen. And this is where acids build up. So now you got all the acids building up and putrefaction actually setting in because the protein is going to begin to rot. The protein is going to begin to become eroded. Erosion sets in. You see that? Now check this out. And for that, the plants, then this is the beautiful thing about plants, y'all. The beautiful thing about plants is this. Plants are so smart and plants are so etheric and so intelligent that the part of the plants that you are not supposed to be eating create deadly chemicals that will tear your ass up. And one of these chemicals are called lectins. You see that? One of these chemicals are called lectins. Now, let me show y'all how amazing plants are. Plants don't do this when it comes to the reproductive part, like the flesh of fruits. Plants don't do this when it comes to certain leaves, but plants do create cellulose, which is another protective mechanism, showing you naturally that your black butt is a frugivore. Because when you bite into the apple ain't got that in it. But if you bite into the apple seeds have neurotoxins in it. If you bite into the soursop flesh, it's very good for you. But if you eat that soursop seed, you would die of neurotoxins, of cytotoxins, cytoplasma, and the endometrium sperm of the actual seed. The endosperm. So it shows you, even when you get to the process of breaking down the chemistry of the plants that we're supposed to be eating, it is certain type of chemicals inside of certain different areas and parts of the plants that is bad for the body, showing you that the plant is telling you, don't eat my seeds, certain of them. Don't eat certain of my roots. Don't do that. Don't eat certain of my leaves. Eat the yielding production part, which is a fruit. Otherwise, I'm going to go in and I'm going to tear up every damn microbiota inside of your duodenum. I'm going to tear up your digestional tract. I'm going to give you fevers. I'm going to give you rashes. I'm going to give you hives. I'm going to give you allergies because you eating the wrong part of me. Because just like the animals want to live, I want to live too. You can eat me. Just make sure you save the reproductive part on me and keep certain of my roots and stems in the ground for the next time when my season come, I can resurrect and regrow. This is how smart plants is. So, and one of these chemicals that I'm talking about is actually called a lectin. Now, let's read about what a lectin is. It says lectins are defined as proteins. Notice there's nothing good about protein. Protein is nitrates. Protein is nitrogen based. Proteins is acidic. You have two sides of natures. You have carbon and you have nitrogen. Carbon is melanin. That's sugar. That's fructose. That's glucose. That's pentose. That's ribose, nucleics. You see that? Then you have the acid side of chemistry. That's your nitrogen. That's your protons. That is your proteins. That is your amino acids. You see that? When you bring them together in simple form, they form a powerhouse. But when you do too much of either or and bring them together, it creates an atomic bomb and it will kill your ass. That's what they do. That's why you get starch. Starches are sugars, y'all. Starch is very, very bad for the body, but that is a complex polysaccharide. Too many sugars, poly-many, saccharide sugar. You see that? A protein is complex amino acid structures. Simple amino acids is good. It creates the DNA. But complex amino acids that form proteins, that shit is gnarly to the body. The body can't even break it down. You don't have enough hydrochloric acid inside of your stomach that's going to create pepsinogen to create pepsin to actually even break these things down. So what it does is stay inside of the physical mechanism and it rots and it breaks down the cells. So potentially you violate nature and eat the animals. The animals then break down in your body. You can't process them outside the body, so they break down and become gnarly chemistry, and then they kill you. You eat the animal byproducts eat you. That don't happen when you do plants. That do not happen when you do plants. You see that? So let me read it again. Y'all know I'll be explaining. I'll just be too passionate. My bad, y'all. It says lectins are defined as proteins that binds to carbohydrates. The same features that lectins use to define plants in nature may cause problems during human digestion. They tear up your digestional tract. So many of our people have digestive system problems and don't know it's because you're eating the wrong food that they have ordained to you to have been healthy. Africa is on so many beans and rice when that is some of the most worst shit of foods to ever even give our people. It says they resist being broken down. See that? They resist being broken down. It actually is a plant protective part. It says in the gut and are stable to acidic environments. See that? They're very acidic in nature and in chemistry. It says features that protect lectin containing plants and nature. See that? So not only that, you got resin too. Now ricin is a deadly plant. Ricin will kill your ass. And that's a deadly chemical that plants have. Usually like poke root, castor beans, and it's certain beans that have ricin in it. And this is a protective part because if you actually look at what a bean is, a bean can either be testicles, a bean can either be a plant ovary, a bean can be a plant embryo. It's so many, the legume family, all these things are different parts of the plant that's supposed to grow and sprout before you eat it. So the plant is smart enough, or Yahweh is just all divine intelligence. He's so intelligent, it's so intelligent that it put chemicals inside of these different foods to protect the plant for it can actually grow and become food to us, because a bean is not food in a bean state. It's an embryo. It is a ovary. It's a testicle in a bean state. That's why they say sprout your beans. Then you start looking at half of these beans was created in Holland. Dr. Sebi was right about that when a lot of these was created 300 to 400 years ago in Holland. And you can trace these things back with certain books. And then grains was not made for human consumption. If you even see a horse or you start seeing cows, and we have footage of this stuff, y'all, they eat grains to the point where their body will become so stiff and lock up, because grains actually create a chemical compound that creates this sticky like substance that is very, very bad for the body, because it sticks your cells together. Same thing as proteins does. It sticks your cells together. It acts like a glue inside the body that's not electrical at all, and it brings on a mucosal response. Do y'all understand what I'm saying? If y'all get what I'm saying so far, type in some nines. And look, y'all not hearing this just from Yahki. I'm finna pull up all types of different articles. Y'all see where it's come from? Lectins, the nutrient source. This come from Harvard education. This come from Harvard. This don't come from me. And notice what's on the side of these grains and oats and all this other stuff. I'm not making none of this stuff up, y'all. I'm not making none of this stuff up. I'm not. I mean, it is what it is at this point. It's just like, when are we going to start listening? Then you start looking at this. Check this out. And this article is in March 4 of 2014, talking about cell metabolism and how bad proteins is for the body. Could too much protein put you in a path towards an early grave? And this is showing and proving that a animal protein diet, or eating wrong proteins like beans and different types of grains and stuff, will have your ass in the early deathbed. I'm not making this stuff up. It says for middle-aged people to consume lots of meat, milk, and cheese. That's why it's very important to go plant-based, not vegan. Vegan is a deadly diet as well. Vegan will kill you just as much as these other diets, because down they mixing protein, all types of stuff is in these laboratories, and they making all these different fake meats and putting all these soy products in it, all this atrazines, these gender bender chemical properties, and you wonder why when men go vegan, they get very effeminate. When men go vegan, they start having homosexual thoughts, because they're eating too much of these soy-based chemistries that's giving them gender bender properties. You see what I'm saying? It's the food. The food is feeding the body the wrong information. So now you are acting like an amphibian, and you're looking at your same sex, and you're starting to find them attractive. It's from the food, because the food is holding the information. Straight up, y'all. We done prove. I already did what's the name on this, y'all? Hold on, let me plug this computer up before I go dead. Give me a second, y'all.